Yeah. Okay.
Good evening. I'm Jerry McIntosh, and this is Our Voices, the People's Media. This evening, our topic is, you know what it's going to be about, Judge Jackson and what has taken place in this last week. But we're going to go to our host, Dr. Isaac William, who is the great pastor of Greater True Vine Baptist Church and also moderator for this area. We have Mr. Vernon Watson, who is the owner of WBQP TV, who the station that's being simulcast on, and also his YouTube channel and Fire Stick and Roku. Also, we have with us this evening again, Mr. Derek Scott, who is on the White House Task Force for COVID and also with the Black Caucus. We are waiting on Mr. Grover Brown to come in. I hope that he's got his link. But also tonight, we have Carol McIntosh, who is a former educator, principal, administrator, and now the president of Progressive Black Women. Mr. Bill Snow is off. He's in the hospital tonight. We're asking for everybody prayers for him. He has something with his heart, and we want, and hopefully everything will go well tonight in the hospital. When we talked to him early this evening, he was they was getting ready to get his bed for his I guess, I don't know if they're gonna do surgery on him, but they were doing the observation. So we hope that everything go well and he's doing great.
I'm sure Bill is probably watching the show. So can we give him words of encouragement, Dr. Williams?
Yes, if you don't mind, we'd just like to lift him up in a brief moment of prayer. Now, Brother Bill, know that we stand with you. Gracious God, we're grateful for privilege, oh God, that you have granted us as your children, and God, and so at this very hour, we come and we lift Brother Bill up before you, ask that you would just stand by him, oh God, be with him now during the procedure. You allow for the surgeon to be very skillful. And then after they perform the procedure, God, I pray in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ that you will grant the healing. We'll forever give you glory for the victory. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Dr. Williams. Let's get right to it. Here we go again. I know people are tired of us talking about it, and we're not going to stay on it very long. But we still need words from, we've got to keep them, we've got to let people know how important it is. And maybe we have to keep talking about it. But we're only going to stay on it for a few minutes. So Dr. Williams and I want to follow through with Derek. Just give us a few words of what's going on.
Thank you, Ms. Carol, and good evening, colleagues, cohorts. I think what we're doing is a marvelous thing. I'll tell you why. About 2:30 today, I made a phone call to this person, and this person said they finally got their first shot and they're gonna go get their second shot sometime next week. To God be the glory. We had a long discussion on it, and that person wasn't gonna take the shot, but even though it appears that the virus is waning right now, the person thought that probably, yeah, I need to go on and get the vaccine. So we need to just keep sounding the alarm, staying on the wall, reminding folks that even though it's quiet right now, it can quickly be a uptick and turn into a surge, and then the pandemic is all over again. So that's all I want to say. Keep reminding people it's never too late to vaccinate, and that we might be able to stay safe and return to a new normal.
You know, in Hong Kong, I think they're going to shut down for 4 days in Hong Kong, from what they were talking about today, on what they were reporting today on the news. Say Hong Kong is going to shut down for the next 4 days. So that means that this thing is getting serious. I think they said it was an X amount of people that died over there from the Omicron BA.2. So that means it's on the move. And that means that we have to prepare ourselves over here for the onslaught that's coming. So you know, even though yesterday we were out passing out the home testing kits and helping to pass out food, there was a truckload of food at the church that invited us to partner with them. But it is still serious out here, and we cannot let our guards down, especially if you're going to be going in and out of buildings where this thing can hang around for long periods of time.
I just want to add to what you said, Brother Jerry, is that, and what's really kind of amazing, then, Brother Scott, you can have it, compared to China and the other countries, we have the most effective vaccine. They got weak vaccines over there. We got the top of the line, and it's free for I don't know how much longer, because the government, maybe Braderick can speak up. I mean, Braderick could speak on that. They weren't able to get money for reallocation again for all the COVID, and so a lot of things going to start to shut down. That's free, and you're going to have to start paying for. So while it's still free, go on and get that vaccine, and so you can protect yourself, your family, your loved ones, and be a good citizen of the community.
Barrett?
Thank you. Good day, everyone. I just want to let everybody know that the Florida, as of yesterday, was I'll use the term mysteriously because I'm not quite sure how it was done, but has now been added as one of the additional states. Remember, we talked about there were 4 that were on uptake. Florida has now been added to that list that's experienced a rise in COVID cases. I say mysteriously because we're under a moratorium, so I'm sure we'll hear more about how that data has been released and how we've been able to be added to the list. But like I said, as I've been saying, I don't want anybody to think that we are on a downward trend. We're at the end of it. It's still an uptake between Omicron and BA2. Those are our leading variants within the state and also within the nation. So I want to make sure that everybody continues to social distance, continues to wear masks. We emphasize KN95 or N95 equivalency. If you aren't sure, well, what's the difference? There is none. It's just the source of manufacturing. One's made here, one's made in China. That's the only difference. We continue to talk about vaccinations, as Dr. Williams and the McIntoshes have both stated. You want to make sure you get your vaccines. I know you just alluded to the cost no longer there's going to be a pending cost going forward. The government hasn't, the White House nor as the legislature, U.S. Congress have made any plans to make it at a per charge rate. We're still going forward with the same distribution methods that we have been in the past. I don't foresee us going to a per shot cost or a per dose cost anytime soon, not within this calendar year at least. And if we do, I think then the vaccine will be the same equivalency as one would pay for a flu vaccine at their local pharmaceutical or pharmacy or healthcare provider. But please continue to do that. You've got Pfizer, you've got J&J, you've got your Moderna. If you haven't been boosted, you need to make sure you go to your health department, your faith-based organization, wherever you go to get the second dose, whether it's Walmart. Also, they are giving booster shots, Walgreens, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, all Dwayne Reed, if you're listening to us from up north. All of those places are giving all of the vaccinations. So you need to make sure you make your way over there, whether it be your first dose, your second dose, or your booster. Right now, there is in talks and we're still moving forward. I think we'll see approval for the 4th dose of the booster coming here within the next couple of months. So if I'm kind of excited because we get to 2 months, then that puts me right on track for my second dose, for my second booster, rather, I should say. So we're still doing that. Please make sure you vaccinate and treat. If you find yourself experiencing symptoms, please make sure you test. We have had several conversations across months about how you test. You can go to your local healthcare provider, your emergency room, and test. If you don't feel comfortable doing that, the U.S. government has made test kits available free of charge for all people living in the U.S. You can go to covidtest.gov or 1-800-232-0233 and order 4 at-home test kits. They have a 7 to 12 day shipping but they've been averaging here recently about 2 to 3 days via U.S. Postal Service. So please make sure you're doing that. They have extended that at-home test kits. What we have seen in communities of color, particularly in Black communities, although during the spike with Delta and Omicron, we did see a rise in the number of individuals using at-home test kits. We have seen conversely, we have seen a reduction in the Black community, and those in the aged population, 75 years or older, have taken a tremendous downward spiral in the use of test kits as well as vaccination. So if you know somebody, as Dr. Williams said, he had a conversation with someone, please make sure you have the conversations with them about why they need to get vaccinated. If they start the sentence to say they say, tell them they say is incorrect. You tell them to tune in here, ask one of us, anybody on a panel can give you a wealth of information that you need, but please make sure you do what you need to do to keep yourself safe and those that you love and in your community.
Thank you, Derek. I have three things I want to bring up. Today on, I think it was MSNBC or one of the shows, they were stating that the second booster will be available next week.
Oh.
And that was on the news today.
Okay.
And I remember saying to Jerry, I'm not going to get mine now. I want to wait more toward the fall. But that was announced today. Also, remember we talked about Medicare, Medicaid, and job insurance that I don't know if it's active right now, but what they're going to do is if you don't have one of the three, then you will have to pay for your at-home COVID test, which will run about $127, let's say. So this is a great time. We're giving them away free. You can get them free online. So this is a good time to really stack up on your at-home test. Test to treat. We need to talk about that a little bit because they just implemented that. Jerry, you want to talk about that?
Well, just, you can still go to Walgreens as in all the places that Derek was expounding on to go get tested, and they would treat, if you're positive, they will test you right. I mean, they would treat you right there. They will give you whatever you need, the antibiotics or whatever you need at that time to make sure that you're not you don't get any sicker or end up in the hospital. And that's depends on how far along you are with the COVID if you have it.
You have to be there for 5 days.
Right.
But tell me, I don't know if Dr. Williams or Derek can answer this question for me. Are they saying that quarantine is not in effect anymore? That now that they have test to treat, that we're going to use that method and bypass quarantine?
Well, the thought is right now, because the majority of the variants that we are experiencing here in the U.S. are both on the Omicron as well as BA2. We know them to both be very transmissible, but in terms of fatalities, we haven't seen the numbers as we did with Delta and the original strain of COVID-19. So they have laxed the guidelines on yet again on the quarantining. So I would tell everybody to practice your best judgment. If you again are as Brother McIntosh was alluding to earlier, if you test positive, again, that test to treat has to be within the first 5 days of you experiencing symptoms. Once they identify you as testing positive, whatever healthcare provider you go to, whether it's a pharmacy or your emergency room or whomever, they will start you on a treatment course called Paxlovid, which is a 5-day course that will get you to it will hopefully reduce to mitigate your symptoms, and the next time you test after that 5-day window should be a negative test result. So that's why they've given the guidance of relaxing the quarantine, because if you recall, the CDC has gone from 14 days to 10 days, and then 5. Now with the test to treat, if you're testing negative within that 5-day window, the rationale is there really is no point of quarantine. You take that as you will. Again, from all the data that I see on our weekly calls, and I do stand corrected. I didn't read my emails today, and so it is going to be the treatment. The booster shot will be available next week. Yeah, but with that, you know what, you just want to make sure you go in and make your the appropriate thing. But the key is to seek treatment. Whatever it is that you have, seek treatment. 5 days, if you're not going to seek treatment, that doesn't mean you can still gallivant in public and think that you're okay. You need to make sure that you're seeking treatment and exercising your best judgment. Hopefully your best judgment is to remain quarantined, but if financially that is not an option for you, then please make sure you're double masked and social distancing.
And that's when the at-home test becomes very important to have at your disposal, to just grab it and see if you are positive or negative, and then go move from there. So that's why that's so important.
You know, one other thing is that long COVID that we've talked about so often. If you get it, it don't mean that you are totally healed from it. It means that you it may have still be where it's going to be in your body once you get it for long periods of time, and whatever weak points in your body, that COVID could come back and attack it, from what we were reading. So and then there's people with what they call the long haulers that's already have that where they're disabled, where they can't go to work, where they're still have no taste and can't hear well, or have brain fog, where they're losing the ability to think properly. And so that's one of the things we was concerned about, is the children and the young people that are going to school. How is that going to affect them if they get it? And then they have brain fog. How is it going to affect them in the long term, as far as trying to get educated in the country?
Yeah, something.
I'd like to add to that, Ms. Carol, that people are still dying from COVID.
Oh yeah.
I had a conversation with a young man just a few days. They going to bury a loved one that died from COVID. Now, the news media is starting to treat COVID as just like you treat any other illness. A lot of people are dying from cancer. A lot of people dying from motorcycle accidents, and all. And so they just chalking up as the natural process. But I want to argue that we can prevent these deaths from COVID if we would still stay vigilant. You don't have to catch it still. And if you catch it, it's I believe it's just so much better if you already been vaccinated. Get the vaccine. Get vaccinated. Please, you all listening to me. Get vaccinated, and I believe it can make the difference between life and death for so many people.
I'm gonna say this. We're gonna talk about a little later. There are 20. 20 members of Congress right now, as I'm speaking, that has COVID. And I have a list of the names, so we don't need to go there. But just know, right now, there are 20 members of Congress with COVID.
And because
I know you want.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I know you want to move on, but I wanted to ask just briefly, because you said something that struck me, and I wanted to make sure our viewing audience was clear. You said when the fourth booster becomes available for use, you were going to wait till the fall term. Will that put you outside of your 6-month window, or will you still be in a 6 month from your third?
I probably will be out of my 6-month window, but then I'm concerned.
She gonna change her mind, Bradera. She gonna stay within that 6. She don't stay safe, Pensacola. She's gonna stay in that window. Oh, yes, sir.
Can I speak, Dr. Williams? Well, the reason my thinking was this, that I wanted to have my fourth shot closer to the fall, and if I get it now, then probably around December, I'll be closer to another 6 months. I want to keep getting a shot. So I was gonna, since I'm not around a lot of people, I stay close to home now and don't go out as much. Then I felt I could get away with it. What do you think?
I only bring it up because I just want to make sure our viewing audience is aware. I don't think that's a bad approach. You know, if you're not as engaged with the public and your risk is very low, you probably could extend that. But I do want to make sure, and I hate introducing the topic because I can't technically explain the biology of it. But moving outside of your 6 months, as it's indicated right now, reduces slightly, not a lot, but it does reduce slightly your current boost at combating COVID. So I'll use hypothetical percentages just so I can articulate the point correctly. If right now your first dose, second dose, and your booster has you at a 92% efficacy rate against COVID, whether it be the original strain and the Delta, Omicron, and BA2, moving outside of that 6 months window then puts that original efficacy that you had at 92 back down to 82. So I just want to make sure everybody's aware of that. So, use your best judgment if you find yourself out in public and the circumstances that Ms. McIntosh described does not apply to you, then make sure you're on time and stay on top of your boosters when you can.
Well, I want to add to that, Ms. Carol, and I think I was somewhat just having fun with you. If you have a pre-existing condition, compromised immune system, that's very important, because if a person who is immune compromised, if you get sick, that virus somehow has a way of just attacking that pre-existing condition that make you get so much sicker and faster. So if you're fairly healthy, I don't think that's in our communities, but all of us are sick with something. But if you got a fairly good health record, you can stretch it out. But I want to encourage to think seriously about when you get boosted this second time. When I'm available, I'm gonna be I'm gonna be head of the line saying, hit me. If y'all want to hit me in both arms, go and hit me twice.
Well, that's
I don't want no COVID.
Oh, all right, y'all. Let's move on. Academy Awards tonight.
Mhm.
Like, who's watching Academy Awards after we get off the show? Who's interested?
I watched
Nobody.
the pre.
That's over. Does that
I
matter?
watched the pre, and they all supporting Ukraine with the colors and everything, and I thought that was pretty good.
Okay. Let's see. Sean Penn said if the Ukrainian president doesn't speak at the Oscars, he will melt his award in public
Good luck.
or tear it up or not accept it. But
Smash
he
it or
said
something.
smelt. That was his
Yeah.
word.
Well, they didn't ask the Haitian president when they had the big earthquake over there in our hemisphere, which is in the Americas, to speak at the Academy Awards. They never asked anybody that's trying to get into the country. As a matter of fact, children are still in cages in certain areas on the other side of the border. So they're still in camps and tents and in situations where it's not conducive for to be healthy, eating food that's not good for them. So unsanitary conditions and all of that is they're on the other side of the border. They can't even come over here to apply for refugee status in America, unfortunately.
So do you think that the Ukrainian president should speak at the Oscars or shouldn't? Should it be?
I want to suggest, Jerry, and we cannot conflate the ideal that they're going to treat people of color the same way they treat the European. We'll be sad to say they in Africa and in Haiti and in any place where we're of African descent, That's not going to happen. And so but until perhaps we get to become the superpower, when blacks in charge of the United States, then we can shift that focus to back to people of color. And that, as you all said, that's around the corner, whether we want to accept it or not. But my heart still goes out for the Ukrainians. I love the mindset of the president. He initially, I thought he was a little off track when President Biden kept warning him of the invasion to get ready, and he was saying, well, y'all just being hyperbolic. Stop it. Russia ain't going to invade. And we kept showing them where they done circled 190,000 people around their borders. And he said they ain't going to do it. And then when they invaded, then when it seemed like it was so close, then he wanted everybody to stop what they're doing to come to a rescue. But at least he came to himself before it's too late. And he has been a courageous wartime commander-in-chief. I commend him, all the suffering going on. I do believe that we're going to have to do more to help them because of the threat of this madman named Putin, who for whatever reason think that he can just invade another country and take it over. And now they're talking about dividing up Ukraine. He wants to go in and go right through the heart of Ukraine and take all of that, and said, that's what I'll settle for. If you all give me half of your country, then we'll stop the bombing. I think we need to start launching bombs over into Russia, especially one towards wherever we think Putin might be.
And so again, I know Grover and Vernon should say something, because do you all think that's a good idea? Just launch bombs over into Putin? Come on, let's be for real with this now.
Well, let me.
Well, I kind of agree with Pastor on that one now. But seriously,
we're gonna start a war.
We're not going to avoid a war. I'm telling you now. I don't think we're going to avoid. This is my opinion now. Okay, I don't think we're going to avoid a war at any cost. It's going to be inevitable. I think that if they start launching some missiles over into Russia, either they're going to pull a full-fledged war or it's going to stop, one of the two. Okay, but how can you not do that? How can you not be defensive? And I always question the fact that he bombing the hell out of Ukraine. And why don't somebody send some missiles? Why don't Ukraine send some missiles over into Russia? And somebody told me they don't have the capability, they don't have a long enough range missiles to do that. I don't know, but I kind of think you start. That's the thing I had with the civil rights movement, when they were bombing houses and churches, and we sat back there and allowed them to do it and didn't do anything about it. If you start bombing their houses and churches, you get a different reaction. Okay, that's just my opinion. Okay.
Wingman is back on board. Praise
We're not
God.
this is politics. This is about my wingman. It's about what should we do?
Ms. Carey,
Well, I think because we're both military men, I think maybe that's gear our thinking, but I don't know.
Ms. Carey,
There's this little thing that's called NATO.
instead of
And,
giving them all the other stuff, we put our missiles inside of Ukraine. We can launch them. Just give them the missile. They keep asking for stuff for defensive posture. Let's make them offensive. Right. You send the missile in there and start launching them downrange. Hey, we going hot. We going hot. They start launching them missiles over there. Putin, and especially you hit those real populated areas, Putin will come to himself.
Nope.
Eric.
There's one little group of people that's called NATO, and NATO won't allow you, anybody else, to intervene in this thing. So no, we cannot just go off and start bombing Russia. That would be crazy. I mean, it's not crazy.
Well, Derek.
No,
okay.
You just can't do that. What we can do is what we
well,
have done is
send
the stuff over to, as we send to Dr. Williams' point, you can send the necessary accoutrements that will allow Ukraine to defend themselves which you have. And if you think about this, at the very beginning, Putin went in hot, but what he was is surprised because Ukraine was like, nope, we're not about that. And they weren't prepared for the fight that Ukrainians gave Russia. So then they've started going a little bit heavier on their bombings, and what you're seeing is the escalation of it because Russia wasn't prepared. Their tanks running out of gas in Ukraine, and people are like, oh, y'all need help. You need to tow back to Russia. I mean, it's little things like that. So everybody is managing as best that they can. That's why we have economic sanctions to try to prevent it. But it's not, we can't just go off and arbitrarily willy-nilly start bombing Russia, because we bomb Russia. Guess what? They're coming back this way too. So, you're putting us in, I hate to say stay in your lane, but it's kind of the way in this situation. I feel like you kind of have to, in that sense. I think we can do what we've done and hope that calm and cooler heads prevail, which is why you get to the point Putin is realizing this hasn't been as easy of a task as he initially thought, which is why he's now settled, and he'll continue. If they continue on their path, I think it'll increase the length of the conflict, but certainly I think I would hope, and I would find it very disheartening if Ukraine doesn't come out on top. I know it doesn't look as such, but I do believe that they will.
Well, I think that, see, Putin thought he they had said they were going to go in there in 4 days, mop up. They was going to have the country and the president be gone. Well, like Derek said, they weren't prepared for the fight. The will of the people, the president called his people to courage over there, which I admire. I admire that about him. But I agree with Derek. Once you start shooting off these missiles, ain't no telling what's going to happen if it come from us and NATO, because you got nuclear weapons over there, and if the person is head is somewhere else, he will shoot those nukes off. Which when you're talking mutual destruction, but we don't want to be one of them people that's in the way of a nuclear holocaust, because that's what it's going to be. We have to, some kind of way. I do agree with Dr. Williams that we need to give them whatever they need for both offensive and defensive purposes. That's all they are asking for. If we give them that, they can take care of it, because they've shown that they can take care of with a pop gun, what they can do if they have the proper equipment to do it with. I know we've been sending all kinds of missiles.
But Jerry, the Ukrainians was trained right here in NAS Pensacola, where I am. I used to be at Matson. They know how to fly our jets just like we know how to fly our jets. That's why they're asking us to give us our old jets. Give us those old jets. We will launch them boys. Look, we'll give them some jets and let them fly over and drop bombs on them. We sent, watch this here. We keep allow Putin to make all the rules, who can and cannot do. Who gave him the right to launch all? He just destroyed millions of people's lives. He done just bombed them cities like he on crack. He just bombing them cities. Who give him the right in the name of whoever he is to just keep bombing that city? And we sit back and say, well, we are afraid that he might, listen, a good offense is the best defense.
Amen, Pastor.
Attack.
Amen.
No, amen.
I agree. I absolutely agree, Carol.
Do you think that the United States should first go to NATO? Didn't Biden go over to NATO when he went over to?
That's
and evidently, NATO still saying, let's wait.
Because
so
they're right
the
there.
United States cannot just bogart and say we're gonna do it anyway.
Let me say this.
Hold on a minute now. Hold on a minute. Pastor, help me out with this, if you can. I'm not sure. NATO is just an alliance that we are in with a group of other folks saying one for all and all for one. But nobody said that the United States couldn't go alone. You know, they don't have to need a NATO approval to go by themselves. They just won't have those other countries with them. Okay. And so I agree that they ought to give them whatever necessary resources to defend themselves against Putin. Who I agree with the pastor 1,000%. Who made him God to say that they're just going to take somebody else's property, destroy millions of people's lives, destroy a whole country, bum it out, and said it's going to be mine. Because if they allow him to do that to Ukraine, then it's going to be the next. He's going to do just like Hitler done. Then it'll be the next station, then the next station, then the next station, and then if you sit back and don't do anything, then next they're going to come to you. That's
Mr.
my
Vernon,
position.
me and you thinking this is almost, I was gonna say almost identical what you said, but I want to add one thing for you, Ms. Carol. You may remember that when the Ukrainian president got a chance to address our joint Congress, he said to Biden directly, he said, Mr. President, you're the president of your country. We need you to be the president of the world. You don't need, NATO will follow you. You don't wait for NATO. You provide that leadership. Now watch this. If Biden speak, NATO go, but we don't need NATO. We can take, I just wish you all understood the capacity of the US military. Our might, we are the only world superpower. I know you all saying that he got a nuclear bomb. Well, you got a lot of countries got a nuke.
Yeah,
But we can't be afraid of the nukes. Now I'm done.
no, we're not afraid of it. The thing of it is going to be a dominoes effect, I think. You go in and send something over to Russia, then Russia is going to in turn send
You may
something
be
over
right.
here. It's dominoes. It's a dominoes effect to it.
Well, the reason.
You're not thinking of the forward thinking aspect of it. So NATO's position is, my name is Bennett and we ain't in it. My name is Paul and that's between y'all. My name is West and that's your mess. So I know that we are a part of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. We can't just arbitrarily say, okay, I know we're part, but we're going to go do our thing. So what happens in the next conflict, whether it's, I'll just use that arbitrarily, Azerbaijan and, Pakistan. And then we go in and NATO's like, oh, well, y'all did your thing. So you're on your own now. You have to think about the future forward consequences and the repercussions of your actions today. And so we can't.
Hey, Jerry, now that's not correct. That's not correct. You remember when we attacked, when we went into Iraq?
Let me finish talking.
No, but we can go, we went by ourselves. He did not build a coalition. That's why Bush had such a hard problem. But the whole world was telling Bush not to do it. And Bush said, I'm gonna do it. And he went in there and messed up. So we can go by ourselves. You want other people to come with you, but we don't need them. Yeah, we went in there and we bummed the crap out of them, and look what happened. We couldn't get out of there and lost all this. So we can do it by ourselves, but you want other folks to come with you, so they'll help bear the casualty, the financial responsibilities, all that come with it. But in a case like this, if we don't see NATO, the agreement between NATO, if you attack one of the NATO countries, you attack all of us. But that has nothing to do with you want to fight somebody else.
Yeah, no, that's not accurate. But okay,
Okay, let me ask you a question right now. If Mexico attack us, do we need to wait for NATO to help us fight back?
Mexico is a part of the alliance. They're not going to. But Dr. Williams,
if they attack us, do we need for them to say, okay, we're gonna help United States?
No,
we finna bring it.
Let me say,
not the same thing.
Okay.
Right.
let me say this. Iraq was a whole different story. And matter of fact, we got bogged down in Iraq, and they didn't have nothing in comparison to what we have. And we were still bogged down. You're talking about somebody with all kinds of missiles and everything else that can and will and shown that they will use them. It's different from that's why the NATO alliance is so important, because they are right there and they understand if they go to launching missiles missiles going to strike their population first. And so, that's why they are concerned about, let's try to get this thing somewhat under control. But I'm concerned that if we go into they start using tactical, they got tactical nukes, we got tactical nukes. I mean, we know we got submarine in the seas and all that with nukes on ships and all of that. But so do they. That's why they're using the air power now instead of the tanks and all of that. So even though I agree that we can go anywhere by ourselves, I think it would be a bad miscalculation to try to go over NATO's head to go into and start launching missiles and stuff and against against Russia right now. Now, if they launch some into Europe, then that's a whole different story. The ball game has changed.
But Jerry, one of the things I think in, I believe it was in 2008. You remember now, Ukraine used to be a part of the USSR, right?
Exactly.
And when the USSR fell apart, all right, in 2008, Ukraine government wanted to be, because they obviously didn't want to go back to Russia, be controlled by Russia. They wanted to join NATO because they feared that the Russian would do what they're doing right now. They feared that. And they put it, and NATO put it in consideration. But in 2010, when that other guy preceded the current president now, he was a Putin puppet, so he shelved it, okay? And they never got around to getting them back into NATO again. When Trump got in there, that was the ball game for him for not being a part of NATO. And now Putin saw his opportunity to see if he can pounce, and he did pounce. And so I think that we kind of owe it to them because they requested, they wanted to be a part of NATO, but somebody shelved them because they knew what was going to happen. I think we're obligated to do something.
Well, let me ask about this then. Do you think, what is your opinion in regards to 100,000 Ukrainians coming over here to the United States? And that
20,000 Haitians had to get up out of here.
So is there any feelings about that? Is it okay? Do you feel okay with that happening, or is it fair, equitable?
Okay, Carol, we're dealing with probably two different situations here, okay? We're dealing with two situations because now we're dealing with something else. We're dealing with racism as opposed to what they're fighting about over there. I think that the problem, okay, let me say this and then I want to shut the hell up. I think if Ukraine had been an African nation, we would have had a completely hands-off opinion about it. Okay, they wouldn't have stepped in. They wouldn't have done a damn thing. And I say if in fact if Ukraine were a African nation, I would not believe they would embrace importing 100,000 Africans into the United States. So I got a little bit of issue with that, I got a little bit of issues with it.
Let me add, do you all remember that this is not too distant history. We got our history major, but Brown on. You remember the Cuban refugees and the Haitians? Right. They look how they treated the Cubans and look how they treated the Haitians. This ain't nothing new. I think that's what Vernon just said. If you black, you got to get back. If you white, you're right. And so, I mean,
if you're brown, stick around.
And if you're brown, you stick around. That's kind of what Derek had his 3 rapping lines on earlier, right? That's your mess, and I'm the West or something. So we got to understand, Miss Carol. We are sojourning in a unique land where, from the very existence, people of color, especially Africans of a descent, have never been treated with the same dignity or respect that they treated, and nothing has changed. They just trying to color it a little different.
Yeah,
Let me say this. That's when we have to stand up for our people like everybody else. Because if we allow this to continue, how many of us going to be displaced, and how many of us that are in prison right now that are displaced purposely since the 13th Amendment? And so I'm concerned that, you know, whenever we don't have protected status for the Haitian who are going back in condition much worse than what these people are coming out of, because they are in Poland, they are in other places where they are accepted. And so, and then we just gave $13 billion to them. We just now, we gave $800 million in weaponry. And now we're giving another $100 million to import them here and to sell them here. Most of them never going to go back to Ukraine.
Jerry,
But I'm
let me
saying,
ask-
but that was not a dime for the people from Haiti who was living under conditions that's worse from a massive earthquake that's in our hemisphere, that's in the Americas. And not only that, they killed the child tax credit. I could see if they were doing the same, if everybody was treated right. And we should not feel like, oh, just because they're white, they've been doing this. Yeah, they've been doing it too long. It is time for it to come to an end.
Hey, Jerry,
Huh?
all of that money, all them billions you just named, okay? New money come up within the last month. What
absolutely.
the hell? Where to get the money from? When we
Right.
talk about the human infrastructure bill,
Right.
there was no money. You can't do that.
Mhm.
Help me understand what the hell is going on with that.
Right.
For the
Build back better.
Build Back Better, there was no money.
Mhm.
For the student loans,
So
there was no money.
HBCUs.
Yes, there was no money.
But
Check.
all the money combined, what we want to do, everything as
you're black, get back.
Vernon said about the human infrastructure, there's no money because they believe that human infrastructure that need money is people look like us. And that's why, so we can fight. And Jerry, if I ever agree with you, I agree with you right now. The question is, how can we do it? If I do it, I wish they'll make me the president. God knows, I wish I could have been the president when Barack was the president. I just wish I was there. The first day that dude stood up in the Congress and said, "You lie," I would have locked him up in prison for the rest of his freaking life.
Mhm.
I would have done that.
Okay,
You
Derek.
just threatened the president of the United States. Come here, Sergeant of Guard. Get him out of here. Slam his head against the wall. Throw him in the dog hole and don't let him out to see the day of light ever again. I am charging him with assault on the commander-in-chief of the United States of America. I would have stopped them when they first did that. Barack just smiled at him. What a good Christian man he is. I need help still.
Go pray about it. Go pray about it, Pastor.
Let me get Grover in because he hasn't said one word. I just want to hear, kind of talk to me, Grover. What's going on? What are you thinking?
I've been enjoying the conversation so far. When it comes to Ukraine, you know, we're on the sidelines. We're not at the diplomatic tables. We're not reading the intelligent briefs, the cables that are coming out. We're not hearing, quote unquote, the true story that's going on. We're not getting it from the powers that be. We're not getting from the economic dollar, the controllers of the economic dollars across the European nation. So we're only getting the story as it has been scripted for us to hear. And until we start receiving other information, until we can get journalists in, independent journalists in, and to get stories, then we can start seeing, you know, what is this, what's controlling it, and what should be done. So to say, likely, I doubt seriously if Putin wants to use nuclear devices here. I think he's stating this. He's playing to our media. He's playing to our people. And then there's a certain point, I believe, that Of course, you know, in order for the U.S. to really stay on top of this thing, they got to build a receptive following to those Americans who think that we should be involved and think that we should do more in case there's a part of us to do more. So I think, you know, it's a wait and see game until we can get sources other than the sources that come out of mainstream media. The second thing, I've said all along that this is a population mover. And some estimates have said that we can expect to see as many as 1 to 2.5 million. Well, I would say at least 1 million, perhaps, may be coming to the U.S. Many of the philanthropic settlement groups up in the north, in the Midwest, have been requesting that they be sent here, Ohio, Michigan, and other places. So they have already starting to come. You know, school districts have already started having conversations. So, you know, people are getting prepared. And yes, there is a big difference when something happens on European soil versus that happening on African soil. White supremacy is not just a Southern thing, it is a worldwide thing. And the same thing that those who developed policy and did studies saw that the white European would stay in power over that of the African. It's the same people who wrote policies in Europe and funded policies in the US are the same ones that wrote it for South Africa at the beginning of its apartheid situation. So, I mean, you know, there's still a hate for Haiti. And that's obvious because they've never, ever let that go. Because, you know, they still feel, you know, that investment went sour and it was due to the rebellious slaves that were there. And, you know, and when we say that we're fighting this, we're fighting systemic racism, I think we have to understand what that means, because it means more than just fighting hatred, but we're fighting systems that are developed, that are created to keep Black and brown at particular locations, at particular places, not to move beyond, allow some to slip through, but always to have definite power in the hands of the white majority or minorities.
Minority is the key word, because that's what they are. They're a global minority. The majority of the people on the planet are darker people of the earth, and which are the original people, which is us, who will always dominate the world as far as population is concerned. And it's only a matter of time before we will dominate everywhere, because that's who we are.
Let's hear from Cedric Lacey from Atlanta. He says, the other countries know that Russia has missiles pointed in their direction. The United States may be considered a superpower, but some of the other nations aren't, and they are rightfully concerned about their own country and population. All I can say is tread lightly. He's military as well.
Yeah, retired military.
Yes, so that's something. Now moving to Trump, you know, he had a Georgia rally just the other day. And he indicated that Putin was the smart person. So he's pushing Putin as smart, and I guess he's pushing
Joe Biden is being dumb.
Yeah, our leader is dumb. Now this man is running for president of the United States in 2024. He's upholding Putin. What do y'all, come on, talk to me about that. You okay?
He's appealing to his base. He's appealing to his base.
But Biden is not allowed to run for president when he's obviously not for America or not for democracy.
He's appealing to that base, and that's what he has been funded to do. That's what people are paying him to do, and that is his way of getting in office. We know that when he says this, it's dog whistles, it's cries, it's you know, hey, do this, do this. Yes, it, you know, in our eyesight, he shouldn't be doing that. Yes, he shouldn't be talking about giving Putin a pass, supporting the violent overthrow of another nation. But he's appealing to his base, and that's what he wants to do in order to get elected.
Yeah, that's what I keep saying.
Yeah, I know he's doing this for his base,
Mhm.
but why are we allowing him to run for the president of the United States?
Wait,
Thank you,
Well,
Ms.
we
Carroll.
can't, we
I'm
can't
with you.
stop him, Carol. I mean, how can you
Thank you.
stop him?
I know, but that
I'm
shows,
really
you
scared.
said once before, Vernon, that you realized there was a flaw in the system. You realized that it wasn't as cohesive as we
God,
thought it
real.
would be. And I'm really concerned with that. How in the world can this man say and do all this and then have the right to run for the president of the United States still?
Can I just say that I agree wholeheartedly with what both Mr. Brown as well as you all have said. He is indeed, in fact, he's pandering to his base. The problem is polling has shown that that appeal is not going the direction that he thought it was going to go. And whoever is advising him, as we have consistently seen, are a bunch of idiots. Like, and I hate to say it, let's look at it. You're telling your base and those that you are pandering to that Putin is smart, who is currently engaging in a war that is sending your children, your grandchildren, of which the Republican has a very strong military base and loyalty to the U.S. Armed Services. You're telling me that you thought it was a good idea to say, oh, the man who's sending putting your children and grandchildren in harm's way is a brilliant man, and we should be cool with him. And Joseph Robinette Biden is an idiot. The polling has shown is what he has done is he has, instead of appealing to his base, he has started to alienate those who have heard this, because they're like, wait a minute, my child over there, what are you talking about? If Putin, people link it to being responsible through the launching of missiles, through the launching of, whatever the case may be, through gunfire, kill their children. Nobody's signing up for that. There's no man in the world that I truly believe that as much of a stronghold as he has on the minds of smart people, whether they're Democrat, Republican, NPA, whatever the case may be, that they're not going to say, oh, I'm riding with you, even though you killed my child. I just don't believe that. And the polling is showing that his intent did not go across the way he intended to. So I'm hoping that people will start seeing I'm looking at this. I encourage him, say more. Go ahead, keep talking about it. Come to Florida, come to Alabama, talk about it so those people can look at you like Boo Boo the Fool, so we can start moving the needle in the opposite direction. Or so when it comes time for him to run, everybody's not so willing to engage in that support and that blind loyalty that we've seen for the last 4 years.
A traitor, let's say that I'm gonna get you, Dr. Williams, next, but what question is a traitor to this country, a person that wants to overthrow the government, a person that is just openly for dictators. I'm gonna say it again. We've got to do something. Are there any laws that the United States can work on? Because we can let this person just run, even though we know what his goal is.
The impeachment process, that's the only way. The impeachment process was the way to stop him, but they didn't do it.
Yeah, but he's gonna go down in history as being probably the original Teflon Don, because whatever he says and done, there's been no accountability for his actions whatsoever. And I don't know what is it going to take to shut him down. I guess I don't know. But Carol, you are absolutely right. Had anybody else has said that, they would be considered a Benedict Arnold, or considered a traitor. They're considered now. There should be some laws on the books that covers the kind of stuff like that. In the 1950s, they put to death the Rosenwald, the man and the wife team that was supporting Russia, secret stuff was supporting Russia. And now, how can they can hold this fool accountable? I don't understand that, and I just don't understand the cup-like hold he has on reasonably intelligent people, you know. But then I'm beginning to question how, you know, folks like DeSantis coming out of Harvard and stuff like that. Hell, if that's what Harvard producing, I don't want to go to Harvard. That kind of thing. So it gotta be it gotta be something you right done about his action, because it's very treasonous, but they reluctant to really to do something. But I have to get old boy credit for this. I have to give him credit for it, even though I hate the son of a bitch. And I said again, I hate the son of a bitch, but he has been he been very good at getting away with stuff. Okay, he been great. Now my hats off to him. He beats the system, and he just very well may get out of this world. We're not accountable for none of his actions, but
Might as well
somebody got
that
something to say.
2024 change this United States from a democracy to a what?
Dictatorship.
Right. So, you know, we need to look at that, and that's really concerning me. Dr. Williams, I know you're itching to say something. I can look at your face.
Thank you very much. You all kind of did a shotgun blast of what I want to say. I want to try to refocus when we were saying that ought to be something that we should do about him. Now think about this. I got three little points. I typed them a little phone here. Do you remember when he launched his campaign? What happened? He came down this elevator and he said, "I'm a build a wall because Mexicans are rapists and murderers and things of that nature." Now, everybody said that, not everybody.
Don't forget, in Mexico gonna pay for the wall.
And Mexico gonna pay for the wall.
Yeah.
Now, and this way I want to counter Braderi. Everybody said, well, let him keep talking that crazy talk. He will never get the nominee. The more he talked about that stupid stuff he was talking about, he maintained at 35 to 39% with a crowded field of 12 candidates. And then he got the momentum and he went on to get the nominee. So more he talked this crazy stuff about Russia, his base is staying with him. He's calling them to action. Listen, y'all ride with me. I need to keep me 39 or 40% with y'all, and we'll push everybody out the way. And then, because now underneath what he is saying, and this what I hope we don't miss, Trump is about white supremacists. White folk, they like you, but they don't like you. Anytime they see you, you are a potential threat. They are afraid of you. They hold on to the pocketbook thing like. So let me get my other 2 points, because I see you trying to move me along. Watch this. So when Trump is doing this, don't think now just because that 40% is with him, we got another 25% in the Democrat Party with him too. That's going to give him 39 to 51. It's going to get him where he need to go to win. But now the second point, and Braderi mentioned that, you said, how can we stop him? The Democrats did everything in their power to stop him. They impeached him twice. They sent it back to the Senate. And then now watch this. They stormed the Capitol. They beat police officers. They defecated in the Capitol. They did that. This to me, this worse than talking about Putin. And then old Mitch McConnell. They call him Moscow Mitch. He got up there and would not let the Republicans impeach him, convict him, so he could not run for office again. So now he can run for office again. So what can we do? Let me see, my last on my phone went out. All right, go ahead. Out of here.
All right, let me have this point here.
I got one more point. Well, go ahead. Oh, go ahead. That's enough.
Okay, let me chime on this. I got to say this, okay? Now, Pastor, I got your wing right here. You're absolutely right, okay, about Trump, and we need to shut him down. You know why? Because Trump is saying things that people wants to hear. Okay,
Right.
they're saying things that they want to say, but they're afraid to say. I can remember in my lifetime in the late 1950s and 1960s.
I know my last
George-
point, but Bernie, can you
George-
hold your can you hold your horse?
He's talking.
Can you hold your horse? Green man, hold your horse. Hold your horse. Hold your horse.
Go
You
ahead.
ain't talking, Mike. He's talking. You hold your.
Okay,
You can't do that. Go ahead, Vernon.
okay. Man, I can remember in the 60s, and when George Wallace ran for governor of Alabama against a racist by the name of Patterson, Governor Patterson in Alabama. George Wallace lost miserably in that race. Okay, that was in 1958, I believe. In 1962, George Wallace he made a statement. He said, "I was just," and I don't use these words. Okay, he said, "I was out niggered." Okay, that's what he said.
Oh,
Yeah, and then George Wallace said, then his platform became the racist platform. So he was saying everything that Alabamians wanted to hear. Okay, even though his opponent was a racist, a big racist, but George Wallace outraces him. Okay, and he was saying all those things. I was standing in school after, but and not only did he say them, but he did them. I was standing in the schoolhouse door, but even though he said that one breath and then stepped aside and let him in, but he and that's what kept him in power and in popular until he couldn't run anymore. And then he ran his wife and so forth. But I said that to say somebody have to put Trump in check, because Trump is saying what a lot of these silent majority wants to hear. Okay, it ain't the only thing you're hearing that 39% of the folks that's saying the same thing as Trump is saying. We know that, but the one we have to worry about, just like Pastor said, those Democrats that think the same way, those other Republicans also think the same way, but they're afraid to say it out loud. But they say it in the ballot box.
well, what
Okay,
about the Constitution? Grover, or Derek, what about the Constitution? When does that play? Does it say anything about a president that
This is an experiment.
treason?
No ground.
Two things.
No ground rules for it. Okay.
Two things.
No ground rails.
The first thing that comes into play, if you check back in history, and Dr. Williams, I have a political science background, we know history is important. But if you check back in history after Reconstruction, you'll see after Reconstruction, there was 10 years, 15 years, 12 years of gains of African Americans. We were elected to the Senate, we were elected to the House, we were elected, even served as governors. We made gains. However, in order for that next president to make it, he had to cut a deal to get back into the office. And he cut a deal with the Southern population, the Southern Congress and the South. And that, hey, we will cut out this Reconstruction mess and the South will be able to do what they want to do. We aren't going to we're going to pull the Union troops out of the South. And all of a sudden, the gains made during Reconstruction went away. And that's when the quote unquote, the Southern Compromise came about. But then too, there's a second thing that we have to look at in today's politics. And that is that America is not necessarily growing into a dictatorship, it's growing into a plutocracy, whereby there is governing by the rich. It is the corporations, it is the rich that has great impact and influence. It is the power of dark money. It's the power of money being donated that sways campaigns, that pretty much that when I wanted to go lobby on the House, I can lobby and knock on doors all I want. But at the same time, corporations bring millions of dollars to the table. And if you have one candidate that's able to get that money, then he spreads that money around to the others in order to convince them to get on board with different legislation. And this is the same thing with Trump. Trump appeals to those who are rich. He opened the door of the government coffers and said, come on, let's do business. And so that's what you had. And I know we talk about this thing of democracy. Yes, we talk about right and wrong. And sometimes it appears that wrong is winning over right. So hopefully, at this point, when it comes to getting legislation pushed, when it comes to standing up, money is the common denominator that's making things happen, more so than people. You know, people are standing up marching, people are standing up protesting. We're mad, but everybody's looking at that money. And then you look at DeSantis. DeSantis has a message that he is constantly staying focused on because he wants to tap into that same population in order to run for president. And that's why he's getting all these crazy bills. That's why he wants to eliminate that Black congressional seat that exists between Tallahassee and Jacksonville. He wants to pull back the curtains on race, on desegregation and progress. And basically it's being done because he can make himself viable and attract donations in order to go into that next level.
Wow. Dr. Williams, your last point that you had, you haven't forgotten it.
Miss Carol, you a marvelous moderator. I love you. You fair. You don't forget me. The point what I wanted to add, and Bro Watson had me going that way. Now, all these outrageous things that Trump said and did, and the one to me was the most offensive, and it really angers me to this very day. They had Trump captured on that bus saying what he would do to females.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And said, I can do it and ain't nothing they can do about it. And then all these females, I mean, I ain't gonna put on female, all the people. I got daughters. If a man say he'll do that to my daughter to get away, well, I might just have an inmate number tomorrow if my daughter let me know that he did that to her. But he violated, he insulted and assaulted and admitted he did it. And then all these females went and voted for him.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
and not only the female, but the men's also. That's to me, that's the disqualifying attribute of him more than anything else. You have no decency. You are the scum of the earth, bro. You need to be in prison to my being in the palace and being a president. That's what I'm saying. And yet they went and voted for him. 74 million folk a second time.
And it might vote for him a third time in 2024.
One thing
That's what I want to say.
Yeah, you know, Dr. Williams, you're right. He was accused of rape, assaulting over 21 women, had paid off prostitutes and porn stars, and still these same women that he talked about was wearing on their shirt, he can grab me by the you know what any day. I mean, they had t-shirts with this on. And during the same time of the so-called Me Too movement.
Yeah.
You know, and that's
you
amazing.
ask you why. Again, the answer is because Trump is saying what they want to hear.
What they
exactly.
Yeah.
And doing things they won't be done.
I'm telling you.
I'm still stuck on how this man has the right to run for the president of the United States.
Because there's no guardrail, like Bernie said. Bernie said this some months ago. The guardrail that we thought was up. He exploited the weakness of that.
Only thing you have to be is 35 years old. That's the only restriction they got on being the president of the United States.
But I wanted to add also, bro, Rover said something very important, Miss Carol. I think it was a compromise of 1786. I think there was a compromise where Woodrow B. Hayes ran against. Now, they in Florida, South Carolina, I think Louisiana was the three states that made it. It was a tie vote basically, and so the reason why they gave the presidency to the Republican for him so that he can stop blacks. Now, that's just tell you what they will do in order when blacks start making progress. That bring you right back now to 1980, when Carter was running for re-election. He ran against Reagan. Now, the Southern Baptist Convention, in who Carter was a deacon in the Southern Baptist Church, they turned on him because Carter wanted to support initiatives that will help black folks, and they try to put on the Iranian crisis and all that crap. That had nothing to do with it. Jerry Falwell came up with, he had a slogan, I forget what it back then, and he told all the Southern Baptists to go with, at that time, a two-time divorcee, Ronald Reagan, which the Southern Baptists was totally against divorce. So that lets you know they don't believe none of that crap they preaching. Whenever
Right.
it's political expedient for them, they throw it out the window. So won't you just stop it and just call it what it is? You are nothing but racist, cloaking under the title of religious honesty. That's all that is.
Well, look, have y'all seen this commercial that's on TV that starts off with the country is going in the wrong direction? Have y'all seen that commercial?
They said like 80% or 70%.
Yeah,
said it was correct.
80% of the country is going, says the country is going in the wrong
They
direction.
ain't called me.
Wait a minute. And then they go into, it's advertised for something else, but they start off with that sentence. And when it says the country is going into the wrong direction, that could mean, according to whoever is they're talking to Black people, going into the wrong direction might mean something different than white. It might mean some going in the wrong direction toward gender. You know, female to male might think something else. I think it's deceiving. It's a statement that I don't agree with. What do you think when it says 80% of the people say the country is going in the wrong direction? My thought was the wrong direction to me is going away from democracy.
Well,
But the wrong direction for somebody else might be going, toward, you know what I'm saying?
and
So-
it depends on how they frame the question. And what was the end results that they were looking for? And what else did they ask besides is the country going in the wrong direction? Because if you ask me, I'm going to say yeah, because of people like Trump. I don't believe that the country is going so much in the wrong direction. Well, I could say, well, I think the country is going in the wrong direction because of how people are being shot down in the streets. You know, the lack of, for voting rights, and all the other social programs that are being cut. I think the country is going the wrong from that standpoint, but that don't mean that I'm talking about the president as such.
That again, how they ask the question, Jerry. That's how they can influence people in the world.
Right.
I can ask you a question, Jerry. Have you stopped beating Carol yet? Have y'all stopped? Okay, if you answer yes, that implies you're beating her. If you answer no, that means you're still beating her. So,
Yeah.
but the answer to these questions is always stupid
Right.
questions, and then they're rhetorical questions, but people still respond to them in their head, and then they act on their own responses.
Right. And it's going into something totally different when you see this commercial. Look for it. It's that first statement, and then it goes into her talking about something else. She's either selling something. I got to get that commercial and play it on the show. But do you think that country is going in the wrong direction? That's all. I'm gonna start with Derek. Do you think the country is going in the wrong direction? If so, explain.
I do not. Again, to the point that everybody else made, we always hear about polls, the polls. So, I think I want to challenge to the point that yes, they are the people who are answering the polls are typically you find the demographic does not cater to us. That's number one. Which on the converse side, I would challenge us when we see those unidentified calls. I know we like to say, don't call my house and then hang up the phone. When you see them, so this is sometimes our opportunity to participate in these polls to make a more balanced view of what America says. So the onus is also on the poll takers, as well as we have to carry some weight on that as well. I do not think we're going in the wrong direction. I think we're moving, we're taking steps and moving forward in a positive direction. Do we have a long way to go? Absolutely. Do we see that those changes are going to be made here in the immediate short time? Probably not. But you have to take every step and be grateful for every step and hope that each step leads you to another step towards progress. And I also just want to say, for clarity standpoint, that Brother Watson's question to Mr. McIntosh was hypothetical, and Mr. McIntosh is not beating Ms. McIntosh. I don't want our viewing audience to think
I
that.
think anybody that goes keeps going, that's not happening.
Right.
And if it
But,
did
but
happen,
you can see how you can influence people by the
Right,
way you
right.
phase questions. That's my
right,
Right.
right, yeah, right, right.
And the next thing you know, it'll be on Facebook. That man said that Mr. McIntosh was beating Miss McIntosh. It'll be all over tomorrow. So,
And Ms. Carol, the question is under beneath what the question they're asking. They're asking a question really on Biden leadership.
Right, right, that's it, you're right.
Leaning in the right direction. Now, that's far from, as Bro Derry just said. That ain't what that question. I think Bro Watson has said that also. But that's how they get it. See, the news media, they're interested in, that's why Trump always called them fake news. They make the news cycle to what they want. As I don't know who, I think it was Brooke Grover, said the one who got all the money, they're making the decision. If they saying, listen, we don't want Biden again, they start to put all this negative stuff out. They start keep putting it out. They start putting it out, and they'll poison in people's mind. They know they ain't poisoning mine, so they ain't gonna send no money my way. So they start asking these questions, and so now the people in the White House, they are panicking. Oh, 8 out of 10, that means that man, over half of the Democrats are against me, because we know the Republicans, but we need half a Democrat. We are 80%. Wow, the house on fire. House ain't on fire, brother. Straight ahead. But back to Brooke Grover, I want to make sure that listeners, I want to give out correct information. It was the compromise of 1877 with Tilden and Hayes. That's when they did all that. The compromise of 1877.
77. Actually, 1876.
It was the election of 1866,
1870s.
but
Right,
it
76.
wasn't resolved to 1877.
77. Yeah. Correct.
Right.
Thank you.
So
Okay, so, okay, anybody else have anything to say on that? Cause I,
let me just-
I got one other thing, Carol, before I forget, but you know I'm an old man. Just write this down for further discussion when we run out of things to talk about. One of the things I want to talk about, well, I got it on my mind, why is my favorite president polling is dropping? Why is his ratings is so low? Just write.
I got the answer
right now. No, we'll talk about it later. Let's finish our other conversation. I just want to get that out there for topics to talk about when we finish this.
okay, so it's, you know, this is a commercial. It wasn't like the commentators, anyone saying it. It's a commercial. Kind of look for it. You might not have, you know, just stood out to me. And the question I want to ask about the polls, and Grover, you might be able to answer that. When they do the polls, or Derek, whomever, when they do the polls and they put that statistic out there, what polling company, or I just want to know, is there a company, or is it the Gallup poll, or which poll are they really using when they give those statistics out there like that? Does anybody know, is it just a general poll and they find the poll and put it out?
most reputable journalists will cite the poll that they're using to get that data from. But technically, you know, when you find out somebody say 80% of the people say that America is going in the wrong direction, anybody can say that, you know, and that might mean anything, but it's called a grabber. In the commercial business, they call it a grabber, to grab attention, because everyone is so politically charged now. If you look at the Ukraine, if you look at the issues of government that's before, and so that marketer is pretty smart, because they're using that in order to grab attention. And you know, you'll stay there, you'll look at that commercial just to see what they're talking about, and to know what this product is, and it might influence you to buy. But there are so many polls that are out there, and you know, and some of the polls are known to be skewed to a particular side, or you know, whether it be Democrat, Republican, or one way or two way. But I think it was Samuel Clemens that said that statistics don't lie, but people do. And, and I want to tell the story, when I was about a sophomore in college, I'll never forget one day we was asked, hey, you want to make some money? Well, how much money? $200. Okay. Get on a bus. We're gonna go down to this campaign and we're gonna protest against this campaign. And it was actually organized by the campaign itself, but we had to protest against the campaign. And I learned a valuable lesson that if nobody is against you, then fewer people will be for you. So when you're running a campaign, that's the lesson to those who are watching that's thinking about politics. When you're running a campaign, not only do you got to control your narrative, but you got to control the narrative that's standing against you as well. So now we're seeing how these political strategists that they basically use to grab people, and they basically use to grab those who are against them, because you're basically controlling the narratives. And so when Trump runs, you see how hard it is for a Democrat to basically get in and make an inroads into his population, because he's controlling the narrative. He's saying the things that the people want to hear. And that is powerful. When I tell you what you want to hear, you're going to listen to me all day long, as opposed to somebody who might say something more rational and more logical that you don't want to hear. And that's the gist of politics. Saying I'm going to say what you want to hear to get what I need. And especially now with all the science and the data and social media, being able to influence, being able to, as you said, the same commercial that sit there and say, telling people the country is going in the wrong direction. Now, I don't do no research. I don't do anything else. But all of a sudden, the country going in the wrong direction.
The first
Why?
place
What they just said.
goes to the edge. So you're right, that's a grabber.
Yeah.
And
Yes, that's a grabber.
Okay, let's go on. I want to Vernon had a statement here, because I want to get to our main topic, and we've got about 30 minutes.
Ms. Carroll, just before y'all move past that, I wanted to suggest that when you're looking at statistical data, and that's what they could be using. Whenever you're using statistical data, there's a term called a bell curve. And so when you're doing statistical data, your information must fit within that bell curve to be considered valid. But then there's a term called an outlier. Now, for whatever reason, we both of us, we replicated the same experiment, but my data came outside of that bell curve. Then I didn't do something right, even though I had the same information that you had, and other 90%, mine came outside of that bell curve. That outlier then must be discredited, but you need to investigate while it happened. But see, what with these commercials, they use the same data that you use, they put it in the system, and it jump outside that bell curve. They did something that they weren't supposed to do, but they were credible. And it came outside of that bell curve, and they use it and they run with it. They know it shouldn't be out there. They know that 80% shouldn't be out there, but all four of us use the same information with statistical data. We put it in there, and all of you all come up with the same thing, but mine's way over in left field. But I say these are my sources. This is where I got this from. I did this, and this is my results. But I fail to do one thing. I don't tell you all that. But I got my graph, I got my documentation, and then I can run with it. That's what we have to be careful about when they putting stuff out there.
Don't they call that a standard significant deviation or something
Deviation.
like that?
That's
Standard
exactly right.
significant deviation from the norm.
Exactly
Kind
right.
of smart,
Plus or minus.
Oh, look, I didn't realize it, but Vernon kind of smart. I've known Vernon a long time, but I'm like, wow, he know all this. You impressed me, Vernon.
You'll be surprised what you can get with a third grade education.
Okay, why is Biden's ranking so low? We're gonna say that, and then we're gonna move over to our main topic.
Let me see. I'm concerned about that. I don't know why his polling keep dropping The man just cannot catch a break. I don't know. He's trying to do things right, but it's just something about him. I guess that's to be the question of the 2022. Why they like Trump so much and they hate Biden so much? I don't understand that. So help me understand why is this his rating should be rising instead of falling. Why is
Well,
it?
let me tell you why. Let me tell you why. For one thing, he have put more blacks on the judges' seats in this country than any other president. Then he put a black woman on the Supreme Court, and which is the topic we're going to get to. He have put blacks in spaces that many times even President Obama was afraid to put them in. Even though he wanted to, but he was afraid to do it because he could lose the next election because there was so much the headwind against him. But Joe Biden is saying, I'm, in the next 4 years, I don't know whether I'm gonna make it or not, but I'm gonna do what I want to do, and that's what he's doing. And as much as he can, as far as the voting rights, that legislation. People think that he can do that, but he can't because that takes the Congress and the Senate to do that, which is the entire Congress. It's a lot of things that he would love to do, I'm sure, but he can't do because he know it would save his election coming up. I don't think that his polls is quite as low as they are saying they are. I believe he's somewhere between 43 and 45% right now. And I think if once the election starts, is going to rise even further than that. But they are skewing it just like they did Jimmy Carter. They said Jimmy Carter was the worst president in the country. Now Jimmy Carter put Andrew Young as the ambassador. Mm-hmm. He had other people, other black folks that he was putting in his administration. And as soon as he did that, he became the worst president in the history of the country and made it easy for Ronald Reagan to become president. The interest rates was a little high, which it had been before he even got there. And then, with the helicopters crashing in Iran at that time, and then Reagan them had them to hold it up over there in Iran. You go back and read that. They told them not to send these people home until after the election. And then he lost because of that. But Jimmy Carter was trying to get the people out. Ronald Reagan told him to hold them a little longer, until I win the election, until the election was over with. He made a deal with the Iranians. And show you these people would do anything to hold on to power.
I agree.
And then another thing, the energy companies like the ExxonMobil, Gulf, and all them, and all these other companies that was out there at that time went against him because he was trying to get the country to go to electric and solar. You remember I don't know whether you remember, Vern, when they crashed, they just drudged them electric cars that they had. They had electric cars way before now. They crashed their cars to keep them off, to get them off the street. Wow. And when Reagan got there, he took the panels off of the White House. But now
I remember that.
Yeah, now where we should have been. The Green New Deal is not new. It has taken another form with people that's really concerned about it. But you had even Republicans that was concerned about the environment back then.
Yeah. I want to add the reason I think his polls are low. Once again, I think Jerry, great minds think alike. I don't think his polls are that low. But the news media now, I don't know, have you all been noticing? You notice that they got anchors on CNN who are very critical of Biden right now, asking crazy question about how he's handling the war and all kind of stuff, which around the world they're giving him love and saying that he's doing an excellent job. They were saying, well, why did he do this? So my point is that three things that happen that kind of mess Biden up, that give them the green light to attack him. First, when he did the withdrawal from Afghanistan, and that government wouldn't fight back. They allowed them to take over the country in just a few days. And then when they brought Biden on, this this one anchor, I forget his name, thank old Jake Taper. He told Mr. President, why did you lie? This is not what your general said. You know, he had got some generals because he said everybody told him to do it. He had generals saying they didn't tell him to do it. So they attacked his credibility now as being straight Joe. Then secondly, he tried to pass his agenda, and Cinema and Manchin held him up, which all the Black people had their hope on erasing debt, getting that child credit and all the things for the human health, human structure. Black folk wanted that because he had promised he had Black folk back, and that didn't happen. And then the last thing is that they got this this backlog of all those ships and those containers out there in the ocean and everything. So then inflation took off, and on top of the inflation, the gas went up. So people like, man, I just talked to I got a friend, got a business. He told me, hey, under Trump, he said, I don't care, man, I'll pay $10 a gallon to get rid of Trump. But he said, we didn't pay all this with under Trump. They wouldn't raise again. So those are the things that make people feel okay to say that Biden is doing bad. But I honestly believe, now I could be wrong. I think Brett Brown is more political major than I am. He can read the tea leaves a little better. I can read them good, but he can read them a little better than me. I think, just as Jerry said, this thing gonna turn around very quickly. We gonna take a bad beating in the midterm, but soon as the midterm out, Biden gonna get back on the campaign trail. He know how to campaign.
How can we take a beating in the midterm and then succeed in 2024? The midterm has got to be. We've got to really focus in on the midterm.
The midterm.
That's what Barack did. Barack said he took a shellacking. But then after that shellacking, he come out that shellacking and got him another 4 years.
The midterm has always went against the party in power.
Yeah.
And always, it's been that way for years. I think it was it Clinton? Maybe Clinton that had.
Clinton did the same thing.
Yeah, and maybe I think it was one. I can't remember who exactly what it was.
It's Clinton.
It was Clinton. Yeah, they held on to the House. But other than that, most of the people in power, whether Republican or Democrat, they lose the House every time.
So we got to do a show. We got to get to, because I want to talk about the midterms. We need to talk about the show, the midterms. So I'm thinking that midterms are so vital because of the fact that we need to have so many senators and so many people in the House in order for we want the voting rights to pass. We've got to make it so that we don't need Sinema and Manchin. So we've got to get more senators. And so I'm thinking midterms is very, very important. But
it is super important.
I don't want to get into it. I think that'll be our next show because we need to really talk about the midterms and how important it is. I'm glad y'all brought that up. But I want to talk about the confirmation. I want to read something first, and then we can start the conversation because it's going to be a very interesting conversation. Did everyone see it? All 3 days?
Some of it.
Not all three.
Okay.
Not all three.
I couldn't bear. I couldn't bear to look at it.
Well, let me read this.
I had to watch it.
Let me read this. It says, "This is a reminder to those also having the audacity to dream of disrupting spaces built by and for whiteness, that the road to be first will never be easy. Many have rushed to state how overqualified Judge Jackson is compared to sitting justices, but they are missing a critical point. These lines of questioning are not designed to vet Judge Jackson's impartiality, but to subject her to enough contempt so that as to make her break and or to discourage others who are unwilling to put up with the racial antagonism." And in fact, it wasn't about her qualifications. It wasn't about how she was liked or what she can do, how much of a great judge she was. It was about her color of her skin. What do y'all
I
think?
think, well, let me say,
Carol, I got a point.
go ahead, Brian.
I got a point about that, and you know, I got an opinion on everything. I think if you looked at, I think you're right. Whoever said that, I think they're right. It's not about her qualification. She's obviously qualified, but it's Charles Thompson said it's about a way of trying to dirty her up. But it's a little bit more than just that. I think because if you looked at, y'all remember when Jackie Robinson went into the I know you don't remember, but history would tell you. But when he went into the major leagues, okay, Rick, what's his name? His the commissioner, Rick, what's his name? Whatever his name was. But he told Jackie Robinson, when he first interviewed Jackie Robinson, he put Jackie Robinson to the test, okay, and just to see how Jackie Robinson would react on the situation, okay. And then he told him at the end of that interview, he told Jackie Robinson, look, I intentionally put you under this duress and call your names and all that kind of stuff to see how, because he said, I have to have a black player that's going to be able to endure all of the stuff that they're going to come forward. You're going to have to be able to just ignore that stuff and continue to do your job. And I think that's probably one of the similarities, what this hearing is about, is that she's a way better woman than I would have been, okay? Out of Ted Cruz, they had to pull me off of that bastard. So, but anyway, let me talk. Let me go. Y'all, let me go.
Yeah, Branch Rickey was his name you talking about.
Yeah, Branch Rickey. You're Branch Rickey. So that's similar to that.
But on the other hand, and I know this is off the beaten path a little bit. Jackie Robinson and they was getting all the best. They was getting big audience in their teams anyway. But they saw that hey, we can bust this up and we'll get all these guys and we won't have no competition out there. But we'll talk about that later on another day.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So what Vernon was saying was that we have to endure all of this hatred, all of this
madness.
Right. I mean, they asked her what the definition of a woman was.
Right.
They called her a pedophile, all kind of stuff. If y'all saw it. And we have to just sit there in order to get our position or get the title and endure it. Is that what we're saying? We have to endure this for every time?
But Carol, one of the things, that's the six of it. But the half a dozen on the other side is that you cannot make any changes until you get inside the house, okay? I might not let you in. I can throw rocks at you and everything, but I'm not going to get into the house as long as you violent with me. But once I get into the house, then I can make changes to things. And I think that's the idea here. If she's going to be antagonistic, they're going to not let her, they're not going to appoint her. But once she get there, then she can make laws and help change things that can change, change the process.
But do they really need the Republicans?
Somebody, I hate to say this, but somebody has to take it for the team. And that's what she's doing right now. I think she's taking one for the team.
One of the things that I was reading here is that this year was deep. He said, I think of how horrifying it must have been for Lisa Jackson to watch her mother being disrespected in this way, unable to truly defend her, to know how hard she had worked and how little it meant when white men and women choose to basically attack her character and record. I mean, these from lesser people who have, when you think about it, these people, Marsha Blackburn, of all people, asking her, what is a woman? Talking about, you came here and didn't know what a woman was? Aren't you supposed to be a woman? Who the hell are you? That's been the question. But
Jerry,
Bernie, you have to have somebody who have the temperament to take it to the next level.
Well, she did have the temperament to take it to the next level. That's the beauty of the whole thing. And but when you do that, but she knew what she was getting into. She seen that they took that what's the other boy that Trump put in before this last one? The Democrats, they ran him through the ringer. So, but it was just kind of fair
Kavanaugh.
game. Kavanaugh,
No, it's not the
Kavanaugh,
same.
but they ran him.
But
It's not the
he-
same thing, but they still run you through the ringer there, okay? And you have to be prepared to be run through the ringer if you want to get in there.
He was
That's all
talking
I'm
about fear and all of
Yeah,
that
but
stuff.
he was accused of assault and the possibility of trying to rape somebody.
Well,
And
what's the difference between accusing her of being a pedophile?
Because that
because
was
it was
true.
true.
And suing him, and
It was- yeah.
So
allegedly.
he's saying that, well,
The
that's
word is
proven.
accused. Now,
Yeah,
I
he was
wasn't
accused. Yeah,
allegedly.
yeah.
and so I believe Verna 100% right is that he wasn't convicted of any of that. So it's accused. And so, until you've been convicted, you can't say he actually did that. Even though we believe he did it, he wasn't convicted. This is what I want to pivot back to with her nominee. I thought she was a magnificent, marvelous personality. I love her spirit. She seemed like my little sister. I wish I could be there to help defend, but she didn't need no help. She was brilliant. She was magnificent, eloquent in her speech. And notice the first thing that happened after this. Donald Trump goes and have a rally and said, how dare, in other words, this little black woman disrespect these GOP senators. And Trump goes on to say that how can she be a judge on the Supreme Court and interpret the Constitution when she doesn't even know what a woman is? That Trump is dumb as a rock.
Yeah, he is.
And he's talking with a scholar, and he's gonna say that. Notice, and Jerry, you were spot on. They use a white woman to attack her nasty. Do you know, like, you are not a woman, but do you know what a woman really is? You ain't no woman. You kind of like a little animal. But do you know, can you give me the definition of a woman? But that's who always they have used since Jim Crow days to hurt black folk, white women. They make an accusation from a white woman that a black man looked at her wrong. They put a rope around your neck. You're out, your little skinny ugly self. I don't want to think about you. But then they put him in prison. They kill him, everything. Well, they did her sort of the same way. You really not a woman, right? You don't even know what a woman is. Or if you think you know what a woman is, how come you voted that a person can be this and this? Now, don't conflate the two issues out. 58% of Americans said they are proud that she will be. Now, that's the biggest number they done got in the last 15 years of people who agree that that person should be on it. So I said she did an excellent job. I'll rally for her. I'll campaign anything. She is a magnificent, beautiful personality. I love her deeply.
You know, they played that same trick with Miss Obama about she not being a woman, she being an ape like, you know.
And said she was a man. Too much she was a transvestite and all that crazy
That's what they
stuff.
do to black women. They use a white woman to do that. They did the Williams sisters the same way. You remember? They got on TV. They said they are not women. They are little men.
It's awful. It's awful. It was just it just really hurt. Lindsey Graham, Eric. Lindsey Graham.
Oh Lord, I must say, not him.
What
Please,
was
not him.
wrong with that man?
Lindsey
What was
Graham.
wrong? Lindsey Graham. I want to hear. He's the young from the. Did you understand the dynamics between Lindsey? I guess the older generation kind of understood. What do you think about Lindsey Graham and what he was saying?
I don't think. I apologize. My internet connectivity went completely out, so I'm on my phone. So bear with me. But I don't think about Lindsey Graham. What he said made absolutely no sense. The majority of the stuff that everybody asked, that we talked about, okay, Democrats grilled her. There has not been one sitting justice in the history of the Supreme Court where somebody asked them what their LSAT score was. And with that, I was like, ooh, she finna get with him. Because I would have, it's not me, I would have said, well, 182, what's yours? And then when you don't have one, all right, then shut up. But, that's why I wasn't up for Senate confirmation. She did that. President Biden made the right choice because this lady, even though she gave her her visual and facial moments of blackness.
Did you know that Paul, who was that?
Say again?
Ted Cruz, when she paused for a second and sighed
Yeah,
and
she
turned
was
And she
her
put that
head
head
to
to
the
the
side.
side.
She like,
I
I'm
was
gonna
like,
pull it back.
uh-oh.
I'm gonna pull it back.
He started looking like
Yeah,
Miss
'cause I
Carol.
saw, I
I
was
thought Miss Carol could come out.
Yes.
I was like, oh
She
Lord,
swallowed
please don't
that.
lose your hold it. I just kept saying hold it because she paused and she turned her head to the side.
That's right.
And I was like, please hold it. And she said, "Dude," and I was with her. I wouldn't have felt bad for I would have been like, go ahead, but dad, but she held it. And I said, this man gonna come out talking about race class theory and gonna have a nerve to come out with visuals and have his aides putting the visuals in the background, like you see this book. And I was glad. I can't, for the life of me, the man's name, who was the chair of the committee for the confirmation, when he was telling, like, when he told that lady every point in time, when somebody had a point of misinformation, he always clarified it. He would go back and say, nope,
Right.
you said this, where you called. The one that sticks out to me was when that man said that Judge Jackson said that that President Bush, was it Bush, and somebody else were war criminals, and that's not what was said at all. And so she was just like, I ain't even had to say it. I wanted to say, I felt like she was saying, thank you, white man, I appreciate you for clarifying it. And then he was always on the point when he would say, he was like, don't answer that because he's gonna keep talking over you. They were incredibly. I have never seen a more
Awful.
disrespectful group of people asking asinine questions that have nothing to do with anything. You're trying to bait her. What's a woman? Okay, so you're trying to get her to open the door into the LGBTQIA conversation
Right.
and transgender. That's what you're trying to do. But then she's like, and I'm like, we're not. Nobody here is stupid. When you put her record together, her record surpasses the combination of all sitting U.S. Supreme Court justices. And you're going to wonder, is she qualified?
What?
Well, I think she demonstrated Black woman excellency,
Yes.
as well as herself and all of those who introduced her. I mean, I was just proud. The pick was a great pick. And we have to understand, when you get to that level, that you're going to get an appointment on the highest court in the land, and it's a lifetime appointment. You're going to have those that are going to come after you. You're going to have those that are going to grandstand for the people at home, because here's a chance for the local voters to see me doing my senatorial job, and especially with this racial hybrid game that's being played, that's out there in our nation today. You get a lot of that from these senators who want to appeal to those particular voters. But she held her own. The questions were crazy. Didn't have any place, but there are those who would say that, hey, I want to know, especially if you are against, transgender, if you are against critical race theory, which is many of those can't even define it. But I think it's typically, it goes along with the territory, and she handled it well.
I sure wanted her to bring out the muddy,
No. Can I just pinpoint, I go back to, I listen to the people, and I'm like, the one that, aside from the antics that Senator Cruz and Durbin and all those folks had, and if you've been following my Facebook and Instagram, I've been all over this Senate confirmation. I just appreciated her, like Brother Brown said, as a Black woman. I said, you did that. But I want to go back to old Money Making Mitch, who got up there and said, I'm not going to vote for you. And let me tell you why. And you're going to sit up here and give these 3 asinine and incredibly stupid reasons about why you're not going to vote for you. Mind you, her prior 2 confirmations to her bench appointments, he voted for her both times. But now this is on TV, but you want to talk about, well, I'm not going to vote for you. That is not the epitome of pandering to your constituency, to your base. I don't know what is. You voted for her twice with the same record in prior history, but today you got a camera, so I'm not going to vote for you. And let me tell you why. Yeah, I mean, if you're going to say I'm not voting for you, can you come up with legitimate reasons why you're not voting for her? His reasons. I'm like, so you just going to talk out of the side of your neck and everybody's okay with it? Okay, well, you know, and I appreciated her for, again, handling the situation. I appreciated her. I love the picture of her husband giving her the forehead kiss.
Yes.
I love the camera pans to her children, even in the midst of their mothers being disrespected. You would still see the admiration, the love, and the respect that they have. And I just on a comical note, I know her mama ain't nobody gonna be able to handle that lady when she gets confirmed in church, because she's gonna be like, my child. She looked like she was gonna say, my child is Supreme Court justice. What's your child? I love it. She's gonna be on the first row, and I appreciate it. So I appreciated everything, and just to know that the ideal that her parents are watching her confirmation as the Supreme Court justice when they themselves sat through an era where they didn't have a right to vote. If that ain't full circle, I don't know what is. And you know, I just appreciate her and her family and her upbringing, and I appreciated the woman her roommate who introduced her. It's just all in all a wonderful thing. This is Black excellence.
You're excited.
This is a demonstration of Black excellence.
Very excited. I want to get in this Facebook Live post before the end, but Cedric has two good statements. He said Judge Jackson was just a pawn in the game of politics. I watched it, and it was just an axe to grind mixed with a ploy to achieve midterm votes and a way to put her on Front Street as Biden's, let's see, he has a lot here. It says Biden's pick, which would give him a boost. Politics is a dirty game, and those played within the system are fair game within it. I think they would have done it to whomever Biden picked just because it would have given him a boost in the polls. Had she been the South Carolina pick, Graham would have treaded a bit more lightly, but still would have voted for her anyway. They have tried to stir her up, but they had already briefed her as to what to expect. She was and is obviously qualified, and they knew that. They wanted to see her break stride. Basically, that's the summary of it. I tell you.
2 minutes.
But the next step is, we're going to say 2 minutes, but the next step in this process is, aren't they going to vote for confirmation Monday? Tomorrow, I think they're supposed to do it. But look at what's going to happen. I underline this, that the Senate can hold off on that vote.
Can hold up the vote for a week.
Grover, you have some information on that?
I thought the vote was going to be scheduled for April 4th.
Yeah, it is.
It says so, but they can push it back because the Republicans can push it back a week. Let's see here. I have that in. Senate minority are allowed to delay vote on Jackson's nomination for at least 1 week after the Monday meeting.
Right.
So they can delay it a week.
That's why they said it for the 4th, because they know they had that right in the legislation, so they already set it back a week.
Right.
That's why I said the 4th to encompass that week. Is that what you're saying?
If they weren't going to oppose, they could have voted on Friday, but they got the right. They got the right. So then they said, listen, we're not going to fight you over there. We're going to go ahead and put it for the 4th. And that's when Biden had initially said when he wanted. So they put all that together and went on. So they can't use stall.
Well, let me tell you one other problem that might happen, in which they said that Senator Ben Ray is a Lujan, had a stroke earlier this year and was temporarily unable to come to work. Then they said, remember they said 20 members of Congress, and they named a few of them had COVID. But they were
Mhm.
saying that the longer they push it back, the longer they hold up, things can come in that can affect it and impact the nomination. So can you imagine anything happening by April 4th that might hinder her being,
Hopefully not. We're gonna pray that
She's
it's not.
been thoroughly vetted, and since she's been thoroughly vetted, if anything was out there, they would already had it.
Yeah, she talking about the
Not that
something happens
senators
to
getting
the senators. Yeah.
Right, now,
Yeah.
that could happen, but you can get an accident tomorrow, die, but I trust and pray and ask God that he will grant grace there for at least another 7, 8 days, 10 days, and then give her the confirmation.
Well,
okay, I know it's after 9, but hey, when next time we come on, we might want to talk about Clarence Thomas.
And Gina
We didn't get through that. We didn't get through that either. There's so
And
much
the
to talk
midterm.
about in the midterm elections. That'll be our next topic. But hey, you all, it's 9 o'clock.
And
Jared.
this is a book called No Respect by No Disrespect, Sister Soldier is one of the books that we recommend for reading. And this has been our book of the month, Favor, God's Grace to a Mother's Prayer. It is a really, really good, inspiring book. And if you haven't read Maya Angelou, I Know Why the Cage Birds Sing, reread it because it's got some deep stuff in it. So I would love for people to read it. I Know Why the Cage Birds Sing.
Okay, y'all. It's been very, very interesting. Very good show. We have the best host anywhere around. And appreciate all of y'all. We'll see you next Sunday on Community Conversations. Remember, host, if you anything that you want to talk about,
Give us a call.
anything that you're interested in having a show on, please let us know. And that also includes our Facebook live people as well. Just let us know and we'll put it on and we'll talk about it.
And Vern, can you tell everybody how to get your station? Those who I know people are watching, so how to get in contact with you.
Yeah, if they want to get channel 12.1, they just an antenna, or they can go to, it's going to be on Facebook. It's always on my Facebook page and your Facebook page, yours and mine. And also, if Facebook don't always let you archive it, you can find it, but you have to hunt for it on Facebook. But it's always going to be on YouTube. If they miss an edition, it's always going to be on YouTube, on your YouTube page and WBQP YouTube page. And while I'm on that, so please subscribe while you're there to both of those pages, Facebook pages, Jerry's and mine, and like us on Facebook as well. And they can go to Roku and what the other one's name?
Fire stick.
Plus, I have an app. If they can download my app on your phone or your device or whatever, or your tablet, you can get it from that. If all else fail, go to my website, okay? WBQPTV.com or WBQP.com, and you can pick up the channel from there, okay? So no reason to miss it.
Okay, y'all.
All right.
Good night. We'll see you next Sunday, 7 p.m.
And we'll see Dr. William and Derek Friday night.
All right then. See y'all
Let's
later.
talk COVID.
Good night. Good night.